Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey guys, it's Jory. Before jumping into today's episode, I've got some really exciting news. You may have heard in previous episodes me tell you about my Marival Women's Retreat that I've booked for September 2021. Well, this retreat sold out in 5 days because I knew that so many women are ready to renew and recharge their spirit. And the time is ripe for some time to yourself, for indulgent relaxation, mindfulness practice, spa treatments, connection with other like-minded women. So I actually have opened up a second set of dates, September 22nd through 25th. But here's the thing. I'm not going to book it until I know for certain I've got a solid group of interested women. So if you or one of your girlfriends are ready to renew and recharge your spirit and are looking and craving to get away, to get some alone time, to get some time with other women where we can really heal and recharge after what has been a really challenging year, then be sure to check out the link in the show notes. The dates again are September 22nd through 25th at Marival in Tucson, Arizona. And Marival is a 5-star wellness resort that does not disappoint. I can't wait to be there. So if you'd like to journey forward with me, be sure to check out the link in the show notes so you can hold a spot so I can secure a second retreat. All right, enjoy today's episode. Hey everyone, it's Jory Rose. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode. I've got a story to share, and I'm so glad that I have you guys to listen because I feel the need to really want to talk about this. So as I'm recording this, it is a couple of days before this episode is coming out. And today I did a thing. I did a thing that I had sworn I would never do. In fact, I was so convinced I would never do it that I'm even shocked still a little bit that actually not only have I done it once, but now as of today, I've done the thing I swore I would never do twice. So if you've listened to the podcast at all, if you've heard some of my early episodes, you might recall the story of when John, who is now my fiance, but at the time, had only been dating for about 7 months when we went to Thailand and we ended up getting matching tattoos. Well, I'm going to tell a little bit of that story again today, but today I actually got my second tattoo. And it was so interesting as I was getting it. I was kind of laughing at myself, right? Of the never say never. How often do we say this and then actually do the thing that we swore we would never do? And where does that story come from? Is it, our communities? Is it our parents? Is it how we were raised? Is it society? And at some level, the never say never is because we are under the belief that if we do it, we're going to be bad. Or if I do it, it's going to be scary, or it's going to be wrong, or it's something I might regret. And now I'm quite proud to say I've done the thing I never said I would do. And the reason I'm proud of it is because, while I have deep respect for why I believed to never get a tattoo, I also have overcome those beliefs in a variety of ways. So I want to share this with you guys because I think it's an example of getting unstuck, because our narratives can be really, really powerful. And oftentimes, we don't actually slow down in our lives to ask the question, does this still apply? And this to me is mindfulness. It's being present. It's checking in. It's being aware. It's taking a look at our belief systems, our habits, our patterns, our mindsets, and our narratives to say, this used to be a narrative of mine. Is it still in alignment with who I am at this point? And will it continue to be in alignment and in my values as I move forward? So I was raised to really be told, never get a tattoo. And the reasons I was told, I actually have very much deep respect and honor for, which is the fact that in Judaism, it is considered defacing your body to get a tattoo, and is even believed that you may not be buried in a Jewish cemetery. And this, of course, has roots in the Holocaust, when so many people were tattooed and branded with a number. And, in respect of those, it's not something you do to your body. You don't deface your body. And growing up with very deep respect and honor for both my Judaism and my mom, this became a narrative. This is something you don't do. And years ago, when I was first beginning to teach mindfulness, and I had discovered the Unalome, which is that spiral I have on my logo, which if you've seen any of my work, you will know that that is my branding of my business. I used to say back then, I would never get a tattoo, but if I did, I know what I would get. It's because I love the symbol of the Unalome so much. So part of my narrative of never get a tattoo was, it's because my mom told me to, and I have respect for her and for my religion and for why that would be defacing of the human body. But when I tried it on for myself in that question, I didn't know what I would want to put on my body that I would want to have forever. I kind of laugh at the invincibility of 18-year-olds who, tell the story of like, oh, I was drunk in 18 and I went out with my friends and we got this tattoo and I really regret that. So part of my own belief system is, what is it you would want to have forever that you would never one day regret? And when I discovered that Unalome, that symbol of mindfulness, the spiral that shows how you can get unstuck, and that getting unstuck is always a possibility. Plus, I was always drawn to spirals as an image. But that idea is something I thought I never, ever, ever want to not believe that getting unstuck is possible. So for those who don't know the story, the quick recap is, after only 2 months of dating, I come to John one day and I say, hey, this coming summer, I've got 2 weeks where my kids are going to be away at camp, and I would love to take that time of those 2 weeks to travel. And I want you to come with me. And by the way, I want to go to Thailand. And his response, like his eyes just bugged out of his head, because part of it was he hadn't yet been in a relationship that lasted longer than 6 months. So he wasn't sure we were going to last for 6 more months to be able to get to that point in summer. And he was also like, maybe we should travel somewhere a little bit easier and closer to home first before going across the world to a city and country that's going to be really humid and hot, because let's see how well we do with the easy stuff before putting ourselves in more difficult elements. We ended up going to Chicago. We fell in love. It was perfect. I kept my mouth shut for about a month before asking again about Thailand. After Chicago, I said, okay, so now can we go to Thailand? So we booked it. Well, knowing that the Unalome was a Thai symbol for mindfulness, I knew that it was on the front of many Thai temples. And I told myself, when I go to Thailand, I'm going to look for this symbol. So we start off in Bangkok. We go to a variety of Buddhist temples. We go up to Chiang Mai, where we go to more temples. And then we travel down to Koh Samui, where we're relaxing on the beach. And there's one day where we're having a meal, we're having breakfast at a restaurant called Baobab. And it was this stunning setting where literally the floor of the restaurant was sand. And the owner of the restaurant was a beautiful French guy who was covered in tattoos. Now, I've never been a fan of tattoos, of, how it looks. And of course, I was raised with this rhetoric of, you just don't do that. And when I saw him, I was kind of amazed, because I had the awareness, oh my God, I never looked for the Unalome. How unmindful of me, because he had on his chest 3 lines from like collarbone, one end of his collarbone to the other, written in Thai. And at the end of each line was an Unalome. And I'm like, oh my God, there it is. I told myself to come to Thailand, look for the Unalome. I completely forgot. I'm so not mindful. And now here it is in tattoo form. And I asked him what it meant, because I did want to verify that what I always believed it to mean, which was already my business logo, what it meant. And he confirmed. And he even turned around. He had another one on the back of his neck. And I really sat with this awareness. And John and I are sitting on the beach. We're on lounge chairs. There's a little table in between us. And after contemplating this for a few moments, I turned to him and I'm like, you know what? I think I want to get a tattoo. And I thought he would do what I was assuming was the responsible response, which would have been to talk me out of it. We were in a foreign country. And I'd always been told getting a tattoo is not right. And part of it being, again, for that base in Judaism, but also like, what would you want to get that you would want forever? So John did not say either one of those things. And in fact, what he did was he turned to me and he said, yeah, I think I want to get one too. And we sat there on the beach for a couple hours. And on that table in between us was a little seashell, little circle seashell. And at one point I turned it over. And on the back of this shell was a perfect spiral. And I thought, okay, universe, it's a sign, I'm getting it. Turns out the day before we had been on this amazing journey, and he had actually seen a tattoo parlor that he happened to recall the name. So we looked it up online. It got all 5-star reviews. We ended up booking an appointment for that evening. And we ended up going back to our hotel and taking a couple shots of tequila and then heading off to get our tattoo. And I've never, ever once regretted getting that tattoo. It has been a constant reminder to me that getting unstuck is possible. And I see it every single day. And I love it. And it's simple. And I never not want to believe that getting unstuck is possible. And John got the matching one. And, you know, we'd only been dating at 7 months at this point. So it was kind of a commitment, but it also was okay because we were both on our own individual journeys. So we had said, you know, it's not just about getting this matching tattoo, what it means for us as a couple, but individually, we are on that path towards peace. We are on that path towards spiritual awareness, awakening, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But whether it was an individual journey and path, or whether it was something that the two of us as a couple could be able to remember, it was a good thing. And I have to say, there have been times in our relationship where we've been really stuck because we're human, despite teaching the tools that we teach. Yes, we too get stuck. And we can just look at the tattoo that we have and just touch it or just rub our fingers over it and let us bring us back to that moment to remember why we got this tattoo, that getting unstuck was possible. I've never once regretted it and I've loved it. And I thought, good, one and done, I don't need any more. Well, as the years have gone on, I've been curious with myself. Would I ever get another one? And I came up against the same challenge. I would never get something that I wouldn't want to have forever. And I don't want something cheesy, you know, like just my daughter's names or their birthdays. And I'm not saying that's cheesy for people who have it. It just didn't fit for me. Well, when COVID hit and we thought it was just the coronavirus break, we thought we were just going to be on pause for 2 weeks and then life was going to go back to normal. My girls and I, on the chalkboard at the end of our kitchen, we made a Corona break to-do list. And I thought, you know, when we're through this Corona break is what we called it, I want to get a tattoo. And at the time, I thought I knew what I wanted. My daughter had a picture in her room that had the words inhale, exhale. And I just loved it. The font was beautiful. It was simple because at the very root of what I do on a daily basis, personally and professionally, there's two things that I always say in what I teach. One is what the Unalome represents, that getting unstuck is possible. That's the journey forward right there. But the other thing that I constantly say and do is take a minute and just breathe. And so the inhale, exhale became that perfect reminder that the breath is the ability to get through everything you never thought you could. The breath is that possibility to help you remember you can get unstuck. So I thought, okay, that's it. That's what I want my tattoo to be. And I even one day had my daughter take a Sharpie and practice drawing it on my arm. And it was the funniest thing in the world because as she did it, she screwed up the letters and she ended up writing inhale, ex, ha, ha. And that just became this joke. And like, you know, we will say that to each other, inhale, ex, ha, ha. It's a great reminder to also laugh and be lighthearted. But the more I thought about it, I said, you know what? While I love the image and I love the script and I love the meaning, but those aren't words that I always say. I don't say inhale, exhale. What I really say is just breathe. So I then was looking up new ideas for breath and the words just breathe. And then I decided, you know what? I don't want words on me, because I can say the words, I can see them, but what speaks to me more is a symbol and an image. And I did some searching and I found an image that I am simply in love with, which embodies the breath. It embodies breathing in and breathing out. It embodies a meditation. It looks to me like a woman meditating. It also looks like the infinity symbol. So I went today and I got my second tattoo on my wrist, where I can always see this reminder to just breathe. And I am now fully vaccinated. So what a gift. At the end of what we thought was our coronavirus break for 2 weeks, which has been a year and is still ongoing. But at the end of what I thought were moments that we weren't going to be able to get through, whether it was as a family, as an individual, as a country, as a nation, as a world, at the very root of when everything is out of your control, you have your breath. When everything is falling apart around you, you've got your breath. In the words of Jon Kabat-Zinn, I've heard him say many times, who's like the grandfather of mindfulness in the Western world. He says, as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. And let me tell you, there have been times over the past year where I felt like my breath was the only thing I could control. And in fact, this is two things that I always say when I'm working with my clients or I'm doing coaching or in my programs. There's only two things you can control. One is your breath, and two is your response to what's arising. That's all we can ever control. And in absence of feeling like we've got control over our lives, because COVID has taught us we have very little control, right? We have this perception of control. We make plans, we expect them to come true, we expect things to go the way that we want. And even very simple things like expecting our kids to go to school every September and be done every June, right? All of that has been thrown in our faces as we can't rely on our expectations, even as normal and mundane and regular as they seem, that perhaps we aren't as in control as we thought. But we do have our breath. And so when, coming to this question of why would I never get a tattoo? What's my narrative around that? What's the real reason? Is it my mom's voice I'm hearing in my head? Because oftentimes when I'm working with clients and they have a narrative they're stuck in, I will often say, whose voice is that? Is that yours? Is that someone else's? And once I recognized it wasn't my own voice in that narrative, and I had to get really clear, does that narrative still align with me? So when I was able to shift to it, I was able to acknowledge, I want something meaningful forever. And as much as I align with the meaning of getting unstuck, I will always align with the reminder to take a minute and just breathe. So why is the breath so damn important? Well, at the very least, which is the very most, when you take a deep breath, it's going to calm down your brain. It's going to calm down your body, right? So here's the thing. Like, I know for many parents who tell their kids, take a minute and breathe, or just breathe, like the kids like roll their eyes like, oh, mom, that's not going to help. It's not going to matter. Even if you don't think it's going to help, taking a breath activates the calming part of our brain. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of our brain that tells us, hey, I'm safe. There's no bear in the cave. So that fight, flight, freeze reaction you're having right now, you can actually turn the volume down on that. You're safe and you're okay. So it's going to calm down that emotional brain, allowing your executive functioning, where all your resources and tools reside, of logic, reason, rationality, decision-making. Because if that emotional brain has taken over, you can't think straight. You need your breath to access your tools and resources. The breath is going to calm down the body. It's going to slow the heart rate. It's going to allow you to actually get more present. Because when we're not taking awareness of our breath, we can be stuck in the past and rumination, but most often we can be fearing the future. We can get into that what if, the anxieties of the unknown. And so when we can remember to breathe, we inherently are being brought back to the here and now, because that breath is only happening in this moment. I love the idea that our breath is an indication of our emotional state, right? You can tune into your short, shallow breaths as an awareness of, wow, I'm feeling pretty anxious right now. I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed. Maybe I'm stressed. And let that be a reminder to slow down my breathing and try to access a longer exhale. I also love this idea that oftentimes when we are holding our breath, which we do subconsciously, we are often stuck in thought or distraction or rumination. And usually it makes it harder. So this is something that my yoga teacher has always said. If you're in a yoga pose that's really uncomfortable or painful or difficult, and we tend to hold our breath because it's hard, and as we're holding our breath, we're telling ourselves the story, this is so hard, I hate this, why is she making us do this? Why did I even come to yoga to begin with? This is hurting, how much longer do I have to sit like this for? But if you're consciously breathing in, breathing out, and it even helps to say the words breathing in, breathing out as you're doing it, your mind can't get stuck in that ruminating thought, telling yourself the story, I can't do this, because the truth is you're already doing it. But if you're holding your breath, it's actually going to make it harder. If you're consciously breathing in and out, you remember the impermanence of any moment. So that yoga pose or this worldwide pandemic or this argument with your partner or the challenge with your child, like it's impermanent. It's not going to last forever. The key there is remembering to come back to the breath. So I'm really thrilled. I love my tattoo. Go check out social media so you can see what it looks like. But I invite you to consider the things you never thought you would do and ask yourself why. Whose voice is that? Does the narrative still apply? If it does, great. And if it doesn't, just get curious about it. And secondly, and most importantly, I want to remind you, take a minute and just breathe. It will get you through everything you never thought you could. Because as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. In fact, I have a great little quick story, which I know I've shared before, but when I was having my first daughter, I was having a C-section and the anesthesiologist was right at my side. And as I was given the shot in my spine to numb my whole body, I felt that numbness, that spinal, I felt that numbness just starting at my feet, creeping up to my chest, and it landed on my chest. And I felt like a heavy pile of bricks was just waiting on me. And I turned to the anesthesiologist and I said, I can't breathe. And he said words that I've never forgotten. He said, the mere fact that you said that means you are in fact breathing. So even when we say, I can't do this, you're already getting through it. So I hope you found some inspiration in my story, but I really hope you found inspiration in the reminder of two things. One, getting unstuck is always possible. And two, take a minute and just breathe. Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode, you guys, and I hope that you are doing well and take care.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.